Are you lonely? You can answer that however you want. That can be, are you lonely right now? Are you lonely in general? Do you find yourself being lonely for days, weeks, months at a time? Now, I would not consider myself a particularly lonely person. I have a good social network of friends. I have a partner. I have communities I am a part of that I feel as though I am a contributing member to them. However, I still get lonely. I still have days or weeks or sometimes even months where I have this sense of isolation, even if my status in my life doesn't reflect that. Still get lonely. But we hear a lot about loneliness nowadays. Now more than ever, in a post-pandemic world, people are lonely. We hear things like the male loneliness epidemic, or how community isn't what it used to be, or there's nowhere to go anymore. We hear this a lot. And I think a lot of times we're looking at it the wrong way, because there are things we can do. And I think when we talk about loneliness, we talk about it as though it's this just overwhelming reality that, well, it exists. It's like weather. It comes and it goes. And while, yes, lonely feelings come and go, I feel lonely from time to time. I think feeling lonely and a state of loneliness are two different things, right? You can have days where you feel alone, but that's not like your default setting. So let's talk about loneliness. And one way I have found to overcome said loneliness. Before we keep going, first of all, I'm a little sick right now, so ignore the mannerisms of a under the weather individual that I'm going to be displaying today. But also, my name's Robin. You can find me under the handle The Eclectus on most platforms. You can check my link tree in my bio. TikTok's mostly where I post, though. But let's start things off. I'm a very extroverted person. I'm a yapper. I go crazy when I am alone for long periods of time. When I get sad, I don't go inward, I go outward. I go. And I get that's not everyone. There are introverted people. However, loneliness affects everyone, And I remember coming out of the pandemic, I went into college. And I started college the fall of 21. And during that time, that was sort of like a rebuilding of, okay, what can we do? What can we not do? Like when I went into college, people were still wearing masks, but we did still have in-person classes. And that spring, we took our masks off. But despite the fact that when it's 2025 now and COVID isn't discussed nearly as much, it's still a thing, but it's not really affecting our day-to-day lives in so many ways. I think we left a lot of things in 2019, in early 2020. Because during the pandemic, we realized there's a lot of stuff that we didn't need to be doing. Keyword is need to be doing. Why would we go out and pick up our food when we can just DoorDash it? Why would we go into work? I can just Zoom into this meeting, And I think we sacrificed a lot of this ritual aspect of life, going places to do things, the ritual of going to the store, the ritual of going into this meeting, for the convenience of, I can just press a few buttons and be there. I can press a few buttons and I'll have this in a few days, right? And we get a lot of benefit from this, of the convenience. We get the convenience, that's the benefit, but we lost a lot, in my opinion. Now, in terms of loneliness, in terms of being lonely, a lot of that stems from a lack of community, a lack of people that you have various stages of relationship with and of intimacy with and of closeness with, right? Like if you are lonely, having one really close friend or a partner or nothing else isn't going to fix that, you know? Because we desire all sorts of relationships. Your loneliness won't be cured by a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a partner or a best friend or a group of somewhat close friends. It's a little bit of everything. And I think what has helped me overcome a lot of my loneliness is simply being around people. That doesn't mean being around all of my friends. I'm being around people. A year ago, I was in a really bad state. A lot happened in my personal life, and I sort of succumbed to a depression for several months. During this time, I was a wreck, but I was an extroverted wreck, and I didn't want to be a wreck, and I could acknowledge that I was a wreck. So what did I do? I started going out. Now, I didn't know many people around me at the time. It was the summer, I was in college, and a lot of people were home, but I was still in the town that my college was in doing an internship. So after work, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I would go to a bar and get a glass of red wine and read a little bit. And I tried to talk to people, but there'd be days that I was like, I can't really talk to people right now. I'm not really in a talking mood, you know? But I still found that being around people after leaving the bar and being home for the night, my mood was in a generally better place than it would have been if I hadn't. And then I started being like, well, you know what? I have lunch, and I normally read during lunch, during my job. I normally do some reading. So I started going to a cafe, and I'd get a bagel every day, and I would read. And I found going back to work, I felt a lot better. Most of the time, I didn't talk to anybody aside from the person at the counter when I was ordering said bagel. But also, I started seeing people that would be there every time I'd go there. People who had the same routine I did. And after a few weeks, I started talking to people that I saw around, and they knew of me because I'd go at the same time. And I don't live in that town anymore. I don't talk to any of those people anymore because I don't go there anymore. And I didn't get their contact info. But I had this sort of relationship with them that if I really want to talk to someone, well, this person knows who I am. And I know for a fact I'll see them. I don't need to have their phone number. I don't need to be best friends with this person. But that person shows up the same time I do. Maybe I know a thing or two about them. Maybe they know a thing or two about me. And that's the kind of thing that I think people need but don't realize they need, are these people that you get to see that you don't have to be close with. We think about relationships as the people that we have these unbreakable bonds with, when really that is just one kind of relationship. Community isn't your best friend and your partner. Community is a series of people that you have varying levels of relationship with. And I think that's the kind of thing that we lost when we sacrificed the inconvenience of going places and doing things. And I think that going places and doing things is great. Go out. Become a regular at your bar or your cafe. Sure, you'll have to pay a bit of money for a drink every time you go, you know, and you can do plenty of stuff there. You don't even need to go there to socialize. And that's what I'm trying to get at, is I didn't go to these cafes and these bars to with the sole purpose of socializing. I went to go read. In turn, I found that I started developing relationships with people, varying levels of relationship. And now I'm in a new town. And the first thing I started doing was finding places to go when I had time. And now I have people who know my name, and maybe not much about me. But I always leave these places feeling better, because even if I didn't talk to anybody, I was around people. And being around people makes it feel good. And maybe that's the extrovert in me talking. Again, this isn't for everybody, but you owe it to yourself to socialize, because you don't have your parents there to set up play dates with people. You don't have school to set you up with people, unless you're in school right now. You don't have school. At a certain point, you don't have school to set you up with people with similar interests. At a certain point, socializing's up to you. It is a choice you actively have to make. You don't have to make that choice. However, if you don't make that choice, you risk getting lonely. Yeah, we've lost a lot of community. We really have. However, the community is still there. And it's going to stay lost if you don't actively participate in it. Find your people. Your people are out there, but you actively have to make that choice to begin talking to them. You actively need to make that choice to seek community, and you owe yourself that choice. You owe yourself to say yes to that choice. It doesn't need to be in the same way that I do it. Maybe you don't like coffee. Maybe you don't like beer. Don't have to. Still, there are people out there who are just as lonely as you who want that community. But y'all need to be open to it. That's just my opinion, though. After all, I am not the same as everyone else. I am much more extroverted than most people I know. But I'm not unique in the fact that I seek community. Try to find people. Try to find your people. They're waiting for you, but you have to actively decide that you're going to try to find them. That's all I really have on that situation. Let me know what you think, though. And I'll talk to you later.